I'd like to call the meeting to order. Open up a minute prayer. We're going to open up with a moment of silent prayer, and then after, return to our seats. Thank you, councilors. I'd like to do something a little different than we have in the past for the Pledge of Allegiance. We're inviting Lola Buster, who's been a pillar of our community for many years, as almost everyone here knows Lola, for her roles that she has played in the community as being the president of the United Polish Community, the leader of the Daughters of the St. Joseph's, and all the charitable organizations they've done and worked for. The Mother's Day brunch that she has for the gifts and bring gifts to the young mothers in the Beverly Hospital. The December breakfast that she holds for the veterans every year to raise thousands of dollars. And she's even best known for her cooking of her bupkis, of all the international fairs that we have and the events that she has at the center itself. So it gives me great pleasure to ask Ms. Buster to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. She is a mother with 3 children, 6 grandchildren, unless things have changed since my last count, and has been truly a woman who bleeds blue through and through here in Peabody. So it brings me great honor to have us led by Lola Buster. If we could all stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much.
Approval of the record, Mr. President.
Motion to approve the records. Any opposed? All in favor? It's a vote. We'll start on the agenda number 4 for hearings. 4A, special permit to continue the public hearing from December 14, 2017. I am going to crucify this name, but do you have any idea? Corvache Hernandez, 79 on Foster Street, regarding automobile repair, including sale of tires.
I got to read the notice.
Go ahead.
Okay. Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as the special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, January 11, 2018 at 7:30 p.m. in the Franco Wigan Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. On the application from Corvache Hernandez and Daniel Mello, 79 Foster Street, Peabody, Mass. For a special permit to operate an automotive repair shop, including the sale of tires at said 79 Foster Street, Peabody, Mass. Is filed in accordance with sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody Zoning Ordinance. Peabody City Council, Councilor Edward R. Charest, City Council President.
The applicant here would like to speak on the behalf.
Good evening. For the record, my name's Ethan Vonzalides.
I'm an attorney practicing law at 246 Andover Street in Peabody, and I am here on behalf of the petitioners with respect to this evening's application. Mr. Tedesco, or Pat Tedesco, as manager of Tedesco Properties, purchased the property at 79 Foster Street in October of last year. He subsequently has leased the property to the petitioners who desire to use the property as a automotive repair facility, doing business as Mello's Tire and Auto Service. Our property contains one building. That building contains approximately 45,000 square feet of area. We are in the general business zoning district, and our lot of land contains about 5,300 square feet. I do believe the property was last used as a contractor's business, and prior to that as Tanner City Tire Sales. As stated in our application, the petitioners intend to provide general automotive repairs and maintenance such as tune-ups, alignments, brake jobs, oil changes, muffler repair, along with the sale and installation of tires. They don't perform any auto body work. They don't perform any painting services. However, I do need to correct a couple of items that were in our application. I did submit a revised site plan to the council. It appears our building is actually bigger than what is shown on the original site plan, and as a result of that, that the building's bigger, we do not have off-street parking at the rear of the building as stated in the application. In addition, even though the great majority of their tire inventory is stored off-site, we will be storing some inventory within the building consisting of the tires that are the most popular.
Mr. President?
Councilor McGinn.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Move to receive the revised site plan attached to Attorney Vonzolidis' email to the city clerk dated January 8th, 2018 as a late communication. Refer that to the special permit hearing. So moved.
On the motion, any opposed? In favor? It's a vote.
I'll continue on. All right. Well, the petitioner's business isn't a high-volume business. There's only 2 employees that are working there at any one time. They anticipate servicing approximately 10 to hopefully 15 cars per day, and all their automotive services are done on an appointment basis only. Their business hours are traditionally Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. As you know, this matter was originally scheduled to be heard at your meeting on December 14th. I did request that it be continued to this evening's date. The reason for that is that we had some of our abutters that had concerns with our proposal, and those concerns were all related to parking. It appears that this area of Foster Street has a parking problem. Although there is plenty of on-street parking that's available in this area, none of it is metered. And because it isn't metered, we have people that take a parking space, they leave their vehicle there all day long, so it never opens up. There are people that go away for a vacation and they'll leave their car out on the street for the whole week. And as a result of that, people that are coming into the area that are looking for a parking space, if they can't find one on Foster Street, they've been utilizing our abutters' properties to park their vehicles, even though they're not customers of that business, which also interferes with their tenants' use and enjoyment of the property. With respect to our proposal, we do have ample off-street parking. We have 3 parking spaces that are in the front of the building, and we can easily store up to 8 or more vehicles within the interior of the building. However, in order to help the parking situation, the petitioners have agreed with the abutters to incorporate several conditions in their permit if it were to issue. The first would be that all business, except for the sale of tires that are in stock, shall be conducted by appointment only. The second is that all customer vehicles that are dropped off for service will be immediately brought inside of the building. The same is true for those that are purchasing tires that are in stock. In that case, the vehicle will also immediately be brought inside of the building. All employee vehicles will be parked on the interior of the building. We'll have no overnight parking on the exterior of the building. We'll install a no parking sign on the driveway side of our building so as to prevent customers from parking on our abutters' property. and we'd agree to a restriction that we will not provide any inspection sticker services at the property. Basically, these conditions are designed to assist in keeping whatever on-site parking is there open for others to use, and more importantly, to prevent our own customers from utilizing our abutters' property. However, I believe our ward council will be incorporating even more conditions if this council were deemed fit to approve our application. As I stated earlier, it's not a high-volume business. It doesn't generate a lot of traffic. We do have normal business hours. I do have the petitioners, Mr. Kobe Hernandez and Dan Mello, with me this evening, along with our property owner, Pat Tedesco, and together we'll try to answer any questions that the council or any of the public may have. Thank you.
Is there anyone in favor who would like to speak on behalf of the petitioner? Anyone in favor? Is there anyone?
Sure. Pat Tedesco, 28 Jennifer Lane, Peabody, Massachusetts. So I'm the owner of the property. Dan and his partner, more Dan than his partner. I met his partner this year, but Dan has been a tenant of mine in another piece of property that I own, so he's looking to extend his business. When I came upon that piece of property, I had Dan in mind for it right away. Basically, he's a great, hard-working family man, and he's a man of his word. So whatever he's agreeing to tonight, I can guarantee you myself that I feel confident enough that I would be the one that took the brunt of anything that would happen because of Dan, but I feel that he would be a great asset to Peabody, and we would never have an issue with him.
Is there anyone else in favor? Please come up. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. My name is James Mears, and I practice law at 80 Foster Street here in Peabody. I participated in the meetings on behalf of my client, Terrence Murphy, and Sync Company. Mr. Murphy, through his company, owns the property at 67 Foster Street. And we met with the property owner at 79 as well as the applicants on December 20th to discuss the parking issues, which, as Attorney Vonzelides has raised, have been of most concern due to both the property at 80 Foster Street, across the street where I'm a tenant, 64 right next to us, and of course my client's parking area, which unfortunately has had a history of being used by individuals who are not either tenants at our location or have any right to be using that parking. Fortunately, the meetings that we had were very productive, and again, I want to commend our ward councilor, Peter McGinn, for his efforts in putting together the lists, the conditions that were important to the abutters who met on December 20th. They've been referred to in part by Attorney Vonzelides, and I believe they essentially comprise 13 conditions that the applicant has agreed to abide by. And again, most of them are parking related due to the issues that Attorney Vonzelides referred to. So with those in place, my client, again, Terrence Murphy and Sync Company, have no objection to the special permit being granted, and I can also speak on behalf of a trustee at 80 Foster Street, the commercial trustee for 80 Foster Street, who attended the meetings as well, that there is no objection to the special permit from these abutters with the attendant conditions that Mr. McGinn has put together for us. Thank you.
Again, anyone want to speak in favor? Anyone who'd like to speak in opposition? Anyone in opposition? Seeing none, move to... Open up to the council. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. The public hearing notice for the special permit raised concerns with several abutters, as you heard. In most cases, the abutters are businesses, and as you've heard now multiple times, the primary issue is around parking in this already congested area of Foster Street. The original plan that was submitted, and the reason why we have the revision tonight is the application in November indicated there'd be 5 available spaces in the rear of the building. Is that any better? Right. So anyway, the original application indicated that there'd be 5 spaces in the rear of the building, and ultimately it was determined that that plan was incorrect and that the lot coverage of the building represented a far greater percentage of the overall lot. So we have that corrected plan. We received it tonight. So that reduced the amount of exterior parking that was originally believed to have existed. There's also a court settlement related to a right-of-way adjacent to the property that came to light after the application was submitted. So through the meeting with the abutters and the follow-on meeting with the abutters and the applicant, the building owner, and their attorney, we've addressed all this. As you've heard, we've got a set of conditions that have been developed to address the concerns of the abutters, and the applicant is agreeable to that, to those conditions. So at this point, I'd open it up to other councilors. Thank you.
Any other councilors? Councilor O'Neill?
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you, I'd just like to ask Attorney Vonzalides a question regarding the operation. It says in the application that there won't be compressors on site, and I imagine with tire installation, there will be compressors used. What number? 12B.
I got to press my button again. The compressors that are used in this business will be inside the building.
Are you satisfied, Councilor?
I guess through you, Mr. President, the question is that there wasn't compressors listed on the application. I just wanted to make sure that that was accurate, so there would be tire compressors used to install tires.
Right. Normally, that question is dealing with whether you're going to put rooftop-mounted HVAC units or whether you're going to put them down on the ground. It normally doesn't address what you're doing on the interior.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to close the public hearing.
No one else? Councilor Rosenau?
Thank you. Through the chair to Attorney Vonzalides. You also mentioned in the petition that there won't be a dumpster on site.
No.
An external, so there'll be some sort of
Everything is
trash
stored,
receptacle
everything's stored inside.
indoors. And one other question through the chair is, now that their parking is vacated from the back of the building, where will the employee parking be?
We're going to have all employee parking inside the building.
Thank you.
Like a roll call on the motion? Close?
The motion is to close the hearing, so that's just all in favor.
Okay. Motion of the closing the hearing. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to approve the application from Kovici Hernandez and Daniel Mello, 79 Foster Street, Peabody, Mass. For a special permit to operate an automotive repair shop, including the sale of tires at 79 Foster Street, Peabody, Mass. As filed in accordance with Section 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance with the following conditions. 1, all businesses except for the sale of tires that are in stock shall be conducted at the site facility by appointment only. 2, all customer vehicles that are dropped off for service appointments shall immediately be brought inside the building. All customer vehicles related to the sale of tires that are in stock shall utilize parking on the premises in front of the building and be moved promptly inside the building. 3, all employee vehicles will be parked in the interior of the building. 4, there should be no overnight parking on the exterior building. 5, no parking signage shall be placed on the driveway side of the building. 6, the driveway agreement reference Essex Superior Court agreement for judgment dated January 17th, 1985 shall be strictly adhered to. 7, the site shall not be used as an inspection station or conduct testing for the issuance of inspection stickers. 8, in accordance with the application, delivery of auto parts and tires and other supplies shall be via van or other small truck, similar small truck. Number 9, there should be no outside storage of tires or other materials. Number 10, in accordance with the application, hours of operation shall be Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. 11, in accordance with the application, there will be no auto body work or auto body painting on the premises. 12, in accordance with the application, there will be no dumpster or trash or recycling materials or other similar debris stored outside the building. 13, alleged violations of special permit conditions may result in show cause hearing at City Council. So moved.
So you heard the motions. Any comments? Roll call.
Councilors O'Neill,
Yes.
McGinn,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Sasslaw,
Yes.
Mitsoulas,
Yes.
Manning Martin,
Yes.
Rozignol,
Yes.
Turco,
Yes.
Melville,
Yes.
Charist.
Yes.
Motion carries 10-0, 1 absent.
Thank you very much. Hope you have a very happy and healthy new year.
Councilors, if you just may, I just need to read the opening statement. The open meeting law statements, this meeting is being televised live on cable channel 9 and being taped by Peabody Access TV, and also being recorded by a city council stenographer. What's that? Like to take on 4B, special permit. Read the notice.
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as a special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, January 11th, 2018, at 7:30 p.m. in the Franco Wigan Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. On the application from Vivian Tran, 5 Water Wheel Lane, Saugus, Mass. for a special permit to operate a nail salon at 79 Linfield Street, Peabody, Mass. is filed in accordance with sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. Peabody City Council, Councilor Edward R. Charist, City Council President.
Will the applicant please come to the podium? Yeah. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone here tonight. My name is Vivian Tran. I would like to obtain a special permit for a nail salon at 79 Linfield Street in Peabody. The in the location will have 12 pedicure chairs, 16 manicure tables, one waxing room, and that's basically it.
I'd like to open up the hearing to anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor. Anyone in favor? Anyone oppose? Anyone oppose? To the council. Council McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've spoken with the applicant, Ms. Tran. I think the request is pretty straightforward. Ms. Tran operates a similar business on Broadway in Saugus called Bella Nails and Spa. It's roughly on the same scale. They provide manicures, pedicures, facials, and waxing. I'm not aware of any opposition to this application. There has been input from the health department, of which the applicant is aware. So on that, I'd move to receive the late communication from the health department. It's on your desk, and refer that to this public hearing. So moved.
So move. Roll call. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
Mr. President, at this time, I'd open it up to other councilors. Thank you.
Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Councilman McGinn. Peter, this is where Orange Leaf was? Is the same building? Okay, thank you.
Any other councilors? No, she said forget it. All set? Close the public hearing.
Mr. President, move to close the public hearing.
So move.
Mr. President, move to approve the application for Vivian Tran, 5 Waterwheel Lane, Saugus, Mass. For a special permit to operate a nail salon at 79 Linfield Street, PB, Mass. In accordance with sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the PB zoning ordinance with the following conditions. Number 1, salon must be built and operated in accordance with 240 CMR 2 and 240 CMR 3. Number 2, salon must have proper ventilation system designed and installed to prevent migration of nuisance, odor, or other air quality issues to adjacent businesses and environment. Number 3, in accordance with the application, business hours of operation shall be Monday through Friday, 9:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m., Saturday, 9:30 a.m. to 7 p.m., and Sunday, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Alleged violation of special permit conditions may result in a show cause hearing at the City Council. So moved.
Is there any comments from the councilors? Move to a roll call vote.
Councilors O'Neill,
Yes.
McGinn,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Sasla,
Yes.
Mitsoulas, Manning Martin,
Yes.
Rozignol,
Yes.
Turco,
Yes.
Melville,
Yes.
Charist.
Yes.
Motion carries 10 to nothing, one absent. One absent.
Yeah, thank you very much. Have a good night.
Move to public hearing C. Will the applicant please come to the podium? Tim, will you please read the notice?
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as a special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, January 11th, 2018, at 7:30 p.m. in the Frank I. Wigan Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. on the application from Siva Logistics, Samuel Granito, 88 Black Falcon Avenue, South Boston, Mass. for a special permit to operate a truck terminal at 5A 5th Street, Peabody, Mass. as filed in accordance with sections 4.2.6, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. Peabody City Council, Councilor Edward R. Charist, City Council President.
Petitioners, would you like a handheld mic, or would you be speaking at the podium? Speaking at the podium?
Good evening. Handheld would be great, I think, if we could use, yeah.
You can just state your name and address for the record while we're getting a mic.
Okay. We can keep it off until they go to the... Yeah, it's off, so that's on when it's green. Great. And it's off right there. Okay, thank you. For the record, my name is Craig Tataronis. I'm an attorney with Prince Lobel Thai, 1 International Place, Suite 3700, Boston, Mass. And I'm here tonight on behalf of Peabody WR Properties, which is the property owner, and Siva Logistics. With me, I have Dave Harrison, who is the building owner. Dave is accompanied by his wife, Lisa, and son, Will. I have Steve Webster of Dutton and Garfield. He's the president of the general contracting firm. I have Sam Granito from Siva Logistics. And then we have Kevin Dandrade, who conducted the traffic study. And to the extent that we have any questions or concerns regarding the traffic, Kevin is available to answer questions. I'm going to give a very brief overview. I think it's really important that Dave have an opportunity to speak to the council for a few minutes, as well as Sam. As I expect most of you know, we're here because there was a devastating fire at this site 18 months ago. I'm here in particular, and I haven't done one of these in 5 years, because I've been with this building for 25 years. I worked with Dave's father-in-law, Bill Rogers, who is one of the best people I've ever had the pleasure of knowing. This is a family operation, and I was very happy yesterday as we were in the office talking about another matter to be referred to as their family lawyer, because they are great people. To give you some insight on that, when Dave met with the neighbors after the fire initially, what he told them was, "I'm sorry for the smoke," and that just gives you a sense for the type of people that we're dealing with. Over the course of the tear down and the rebuild, he has met multiple times with the neighbors, including recent tours and going door to door as this application was filed to try to assess whether there were concerns on Jubilee Drive. He had a cookout for the first responders who assisted him through the days and days and days of trying to figure out what happened at the site and taking the site down. Further perspective, you know, Steve and I 25 years ago collaborated on this property as Steve did an addition to it. It's a good group of people, loyal and committed to the city. In connection with this rebuild, we can talk later about why I believe it meets all the requirements for a special permit, but some of the highlights, I think, is Steve has done a first-class job with the building. As again, I think most of you know, Dave has installed solar on the roof of the property, which he sells into Peabody Municipal, and is there green energy for the benefit of the town. It is a very green building. We wouldn't be here if there wasn't a fire. This is a use that has been conducted previously on site. Never a citation, never a violation, but for the fact that, you know, it's a new building now, no one would know that it existed. The property largely sits in the Industrial Park District. I think, as you know, to the north of the property, we're in the designated development district, which triggers the requirement for us to come in on a trucking terminal to get a special permit. As I said, I'd like to have Dave speak for a few minutes and maybe Sam, and then we can get into the details as to what's going on at the site, and to the extent that folks have questions about why we think we should be granted the permit. So, Dave Harrison.
My name's Dave Harrison. I live at 21 Valley Ave, Kennebunk, Maine. First, let me give you a little history, probably is the best thing, and I appreciate your time tonight to hear me out. My father-in-law, the late Bill Rogers, bought this property in 1996. He wanted to consolidate two companies that he owned. One was TechPack that he started up from nothing, which was a packaging company. The other company was Duvel Molding that he ended up acquiring that when the two brothers that owned it wanted to retire, and it was a likely fit because Bill was their largest account at that time. So he molded the two into that building. As things went on, he had someone after about a year and a half after he finished that, and that was about, that was after, 86, he was probably about 88. These people wanted to buy him out. Of course, Bill was a businessman, and he looked at that opportunity because what he developed was the first approved packaging for air freight. Some of you, I'm sure, remember Eastern Airlines, and that was the company that approved the packaging for shipping live lobsters. What he developed was a molded box, but also, too, a gel ice. And that was the biggest problem with airline shipping of lobsters, was the wet ice was destroying airplanes. So it was approved packaging, so he turned around and, he really geared that up, and through, when he moved into Peabody, it really helped build the business. And being successful, he took that opportunity and he sold the company. He also, of course, I should have said too, that packaging was used in also medical. It was used in flowers, any industry that needed to protect it from hot or cold. So that was the nice part of it. So he sold the company, and about 96, TechPack, which was still called TechPack, the new owners, they wanted to add more space to the building. So that's when we engaged Steve, who'd also done other work for my father-in-law, to build an addition. So that was a 40,000 square foot addition. This is the addition part that SEVA were looking to move into. So he took that addition and built it for them. And then TechPack was sold again. And when it was sold, the new owners didn't want the extra space. So this area was divided off, and then divided off the first 40,000 square feet. And the first tenant that went in there was Penapelia Freight Company. And they're similar to what Seaver is. They're a freight forwarding company. Penapelia operated the freight forwarding company in there for approximately 10 years. Until they outgrew that, and then they moved out. The next tenant that we had in there that came in right after them was CNE Direct. And CNE occupied that space until the fire of July 12th, 2016. Since the fire, I'd really like to thank the cooperation we've had with the city. All the city departments have been unbelievably cooperative in helping us get through this and helping us move forward on rebuilding this, and also my neighbors too. We were kind of in a real time crunch, and you can see by the board up there, it's got some dates on 7/12/16. You can see the fire. Then you can see we're doing the tear down, because of course we have to deal with insurance company and fire investigators, and that was in October. We started the rebuild on before 4/11. And the blue that you see on that, that's the first of the solar panels, and I'll get into that in a minute. So we started building that first phase, which that is the 40,000 square foot addition from 1997. So with that, we kept building because we had a time frame we had to meet. Working with PMLP, I talked to them when we were rebuilding the building and said, I really want to put solar on the roof. What's the policies here? And they really liked the idea of it because they were looking for a green energy source. So worked it out with them, and they're very, very helpful in helping get the paperwork through so I could get into what's called an SRAC 2 program. In that program, that's the benefits that I have as far as being paid by credits. The problem there was we had a time crunch. This thing had to be up by May 8th. So there was a lot of push to get things torn down and to get new buildings back up and going. So working with them, we were able to accomplish that goal. So this is now it's 2,222 panels. It's a 711 kilowatt solar plant that's on the roof. And I've contracted with PMLP to sell the power for the next 20 years at a fixed flat rate. So there's no escalations or anything else. So we're supplying green energy to the city of Peabody. That's what we're doing now. Since the fire, we also looked at how can we build this building better. You know, the biggest thing, of course, is energy consumption and what's going on. And working with Steve Webster, who worked with my father-in-law back in the years, he's a Butler builder, and he owns a company, Dutton and Garfield. We worked together and came in to make this a real energy-efficient building. The roof or ceiling of this building is an R49, which is really kind of unheard in the warehousing world. The walls are an R31. The inside of the building and the outside is all going to be lit by LED lights. There'll be no bulbs in this building, and a little side story on that was the reason why no bulbs is in the fire investigation. We had, well, one time we had over 40 people inside the gate for the fire investigation. Well, the fire cause and origin people, there was 10 of them, and 8 of them agreed that it was a metal halide light bulb. The other 2 wouldn't agree because they work for the light bulb manufacturers. So it was one of those deals. So we're going with LED lighting in it. So this is going to be a top flight building. I'm kind of going off script, so I'm kind of giving you kind of the highlights deal. So also the other thing that we've done with this building too is, you know, after the fire, I never want to see that again or have that happen. We're putting a state-of-the-art ESFR fire suppression system, sprinkler system with a fire pump on it. We're also installing a booster system. Because of building of this caliber and because of the insulation and everything else, we want to be able to let police and fire the capability of radioing outside the building. So we're putting this booster system in now so that way a firefighter or a police officer inside the building on their handheld radio can talk to their dispatcher and not have any interference at all. So that's pretty much kind of the quick and down and dirty on what we've done there. And I invite anybody down. I've had the neighbors over. We've had city officials over. We've had the lieutenant governor over just to see this building. So anybody that wants to come, we're more than happy. We're very proud of what we're building, and we're very happy where we're building it to. And I can't say enough about how nice the neighbors have been putting up from the smoke and everything else that went by. And I do have a little thing up there. We called it From the Ashes cookout on the anniversary of the fire, and some of your council members did come to that, and John was there, and the mayor came and what have you, and I invited the police, fire, and neighbors and everybody, all the departments. So as we move forward, we're hoping by July of this year we'll have the building filled, and then we're going to have From the Ashes to Steel, we're all done. That's what we're hoping by July. So we'll see how it goes. All right? Thank you.
Okay, so Sam Granito is going to speak a moment about the SEVA operation. I think just a point of emphasis at this stage, SEVA will be occupying about 40,000 square feet of what is an approximately 145,000 square foot building.
I have a motion to accept late communications.
Mr. President, move to receive 4 separate late communications. One request from the Health Department in a departmental response. 2, the second late communication is the response to that to Sharon Cameron from SEVA Logistics 3 is a separate communication from Civil Logistics regarding hazardous material safety. And the 4th late communication would be that of the traffic study submitted by the petitioner.
Any opposed? Councilor McGinn?
Yeah, on the motion, through you to Councilor Turco, do we have the traffic study, or was that?
Mr. President, through you to Council McGinn, I have the traffic study in email form. Tim has a paper copy of it. For some reason, it wasn't on our desks.
Solicitor may be receiving it now.
This is it?
Through you to Council McGinn, yes, that's the traffic study. Yeah, I have an abbreviated version of that traffic study.
Councilor McGinn, you'd like a minute to read through that? Any opposed? Any in favor? It's a vote. So move.
Good evening. My name is Sam Granito. I live at 6 Reservoir Drive, Danvers, Mass. I'm the station manager.
Mr. President, excuse me, Sam, could you just step closer to the mic so we could all hear you? The sound
Sure.
system's terrible.
I'm sorry. My name is Sam Granito. I live at 6 Reservoir Drive, Danvers, Mass. I am the station manager for Civil Logistics in the Boston market. Civil Logistics is a global logistics company with over 1,000 locations in 160 countries. Our USA corporate headquarters is located in Houston, Texas. The Boston operation provides international and domestic transportation services throughout Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Maine, and Vermont. We currently service 2 types of customers: business-to-business customers, international and domestic services; business-to-consumer, domestic only. The type of cargoes we handle vary. For business-to-business, we handle computer parts and equipment, telecommunication, electronic parts and equipment, machine parts and equipment, and office furniture. For business-to-consumer, we handle mostly household and recreational goods such as televisions, audio equipment, toys, house and patio furniture, and exercise equipment similar to treadmills and stationary bikes. Our normal business operations are Monday through Friday, 5:30 a.m. to 11 p.m. Saturday, 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. We have a limited operation with 3 or 4 staff on site. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., we have 2 staff members to offload a truck. Specific to Boston, our local pickup and delivery operation consists of 10 straight trucks, 1 tractor-trailer, and 6 delivery vans. Our peak activity is Monday through Friday between 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. when we are unloading and loading trucks and vans out for delivery. Our truck activity is least active between the hours of noon and 4 p.m. During the remaining hours, any truck activity is sporadic. Due to the nature of our business, we are strictly regulated by several federal authorities, including the TSA, FAA, DOT, and OSHA. As a result, our facility will be safe, secure, and maintained to the highest standards to meet or exceed all regulatory requirements. All of our staff will be subject to extensive background checks and rigorous training as specified by each regulatory authority. We at CEVA are very excited about this opportunity to come to Peabody and join several of our customers and competitors already established in this area. I'd like to thank you for your time. If anyone has any questions.
Is anyone in the audience that'd like to speak in favor? Anyone in favor? Anyone in oppose? Anyone opposed? Says none. Open it up to Council Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Dave and Sam, Steve. So I originally met with this group probably about a month ago. I have a longer relationship with Dave Harrison, as who most of you know, the owner of Fifth Street property and formerly the Life Foam building. Most of you had some interaction with Dave through the fire, and if I could say one thing, and I know we need to separate ourselves from the good people that we do business with and the decisions we make on this council, but I have to say that Dave Harrison is one of the best owners and people that I have dealt with in 2 years on the council and even before that. From the beginning, he has kept each of us from the mayor's office down informed about the fire, the construction of the building, and personally gone to see each resident on Farm Ave and Jubilee Drive on several occasions, including with this special permit. More recently, I think, Sam, could you shut your microphone off if you...
Just press the button or
Yeah.
right there?
More recently, in regards to this special permit application, Dave also did the same and knocked on the abutters' doors personally. He's been hands-on throughout this entire project. For those of you that haven't seen the building, I would recommend that you do. It's amazing. You could see the solar panels, which, on a side note, because I live close by, Dave had called me one day and asked me to come by and see the building. And unbeknownst to me, he was going to take me up on a man lift to actually walk the roof of the building with him, which, Dave, I didn't tell you at the time, but it really wasn't the best day of my life. Not a big fan of heights and man lifts. As far as Seaver Logistics, I met Sam at that same meeting. Seaver, I believe Sam is currently located at the Black Falcon Cruise Terminal in Boston. It's a company that I think would be very welcome in our office park. You've been there for how many years, Sam? 15 years at Black Falcon, and I think the reputation of the company is renowned. I think they would be an asset to the city of Peabody. I have not heard from any resident in opposition to this. I know that truck traffic is always a contentious issue. I believe this is in line with what's always been in this building. Penophilia Trucking was there for 10 years prior, similar type business, along with CNA Direct, which also had many trucks in and out, along with the Life Foam company that was there. And honestly, I never heard any complaints regarding this, so I would be strongly in favor of this, and I would open it up to the council.
Councilor Manny Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Harrison, you certainly are an excellent businessman and great to have in the community. And the fire was terrible. I do have just a couple of concerns. And basically, it's why a truck terminal? Of all the businesses that maybe you could have there, why a truck terminal? And I ask that because as the special permit granting authority, we are to scrutinize the permits and the requests. And one of the major general requirements is that the petition, the request, satisfy a desirable local need. And I don't know that a truck terminal meets that need. I don't find it to be a desirable local need. And I do understand it's the Centennial Park and the Industrial Park, but I don't think that the vision back in, I don't know, maybe 1979, 1980, under Mayor Peter Terigian, the development of that area wasn't, a trucking terminal wasn't in the vision. So are we using, and I asked this to my fellow councilors, is this the highest and best use of that area, a trucking terminal? And I ask that because there's another trucking terminal that wants to go in that area. So will we have two trucking terminals? And will this affect future businesses who want to go to Centennial Park or the Industrial Park, whatever you may call it these days? So are we lowering the bar? Are we getting the highest and best use? And if we allow trucking companies to come into this area, will that, in essence, affect future businesses? They won't want to move into an area that's surrounded by multiple trucking, companies and the traffic and the freight and things that come with a truck terminal. So that's my overall question to you, sir, is why a trucking terminal for your property?
I'm going to let Dave respond, but I just want to, again, emphasize the overlay here. I don't believe that we're here because of the issue of the truck terminal being located in the IP zone, which is the lion's share of the park, right? You have the designated development district, which catches an edge of this particular property. So in terms of the desirability of the use, I'm not certain that it wasn't envisioned that there would be this type of use. But what I would add to that is if you look at the traffic study, the number of vehicle trips is going to be fairly low. I mean, I hear the defined term trucking terminal and it conjures an image. These companies today are staging in logistics companies. You have 22 employees there at staggered shifts, and during peak hours, in and out, you have less than 20 vehicle trips. Again, I think in terms of maybe the intent of the ordinance and how it related to requiring a special permit for this particular use, there was probably also a concern about where that traffic would pour out onto. I know that there's another application in front of the council. The difference with this property is that most of that traffic will be on Fifth Ave, right? So it's not to the north of the property, it's not impacting Jubilee Drive, and I don't think it has the same impact on the residents, which is why if I were to try to presume what was going on 30, 40 years ago with the underlying zoning, that edge of the park was put into a slightly different zoning district. I'll let Dave talk about the specifics as to this particular. Go ahead.
Excellent, but I'd like to, you mentioned the traffic study, and we just received it tonight. It's rather lengthy, so we really couldn't, speak to the traffic study having just received it.
I understand that. I would just quickly draw your attention to pages 13 and 14. It'll give you on page 13, you'll get an overview of the hours of operation and the shifts. And then on page 14, you'll see a table regarding vehicle trips, which is, it's a pretty quick read, and it'll just give you a point of reference.
Well, I am interested in the fact that you'll be coming out the other way and not onto Jubilee.
Correct. And it was interesting. I went out, I was down in Chelsea, and I punched in the address in my GPS. And I want to see which ways it's going to take me, okay? And this thing takes me right across 129, right into the park that way. I was out at Caterpillar picking up parts, and I punched the address in when I was out there, and that's I go 128 93 north, and so it was north on 93. That brought me right down through and right out the Centennial exit off of 95, 128, whatever you want to call it. So Sam's Freight is going to be coming in those ways, so there's nothing really going on to Jubilee Drive. And also another thing, a couple other things. One is the previous tenant, CNE Direct, had 76 employees at the time of the fire. We're going from 76 employees plus their trucks coming in and out, going to their different facilities where they're warehousing and repurposing these hard drives, to Sam's 22 employees. And I'll tell you, I'd had an opportunity 2 different times. One was for a big tire wholesaler was looking at the property, and they were looking at taking the whole 145,000 square feet, From a landlord standpoint, that's a gold mine. You know, that's a hit. You really want to do it. Problem is they wanted to store tires outside, big farm tractor tires, that sort of stuff. I want my buildings a nice building. The inside of it is a nice building inside. Tires stink. You know, if you haven't been around new tires, they have an odor to them. I don't want that in my building. I nixed that. I've had another company that fries seafood, making fish sticks, that sort of stuff. I took Steve with me. I said, Steve, we're going to do a road trip, because these folks are also looking for a new facility, and they're looking, you know, because we've had to tear up the floor and over 100,000 square feet of it because of the spalling of the concrete and everything. You know, that'd be ideal for them, because they'd be able to put stuff underground and what have you. And they'd take the whole building also. Well, we did a plant tour, and then we went into this plant, and it was brown walls from the fried seafood. Went up, and I said, what's the odor like? You know, because we're right next to a residential neighborhood, and if I lived there, I wouldn't want that type of thing in my neighborhood unless I knew it wasn't going to stink. Went up on the roof, and you could see the grease flowing out of their purifiers, if you want to call it. Not a thing I wanted to put on my building, and not a business I wanted to bring into the park either. I looked at it where Penapelia was in there before, and yes, there is other companies that are competitors of Sam's that's in the park too, and let's face it, we're becoming more online consumers. We're ordering stuff, and it's being delivered to our house, so there's a demand there. So that's why I looked at it. I figured it's a fairly clean business, and it'll help pay the mortgage, plain and simple. You know, I'd like to find someone to take the whole building, but that's not going to happen.
Thank you.
Yep.
I like your answer. The other thing I had was, this building, is it the same footprint, or is it the same size?
We squared up the building. We went through the building commissioner, went through that whole process. Also went to conservation. Am I doing that right, Steve? Is that Steve can, because I had to deal with some things with my mother-in-law.
So you built on the same footprint. You didn't clear cut any more trees. You're not adding to any runoff. It's still the same structure, same size.
Yeah, we did square up a corner of the building, and we took out an outside freezer that was outside. We demoed that, and we demoed what we call the bead storage rooms, and we're squaring up the building that way. And also, too, and Steve can show you, went to conservation, and, you know, because of the size of the building and everything else, and they asked us to go and delineate where the wetlands are. So I hired a wetland scientist, I hired an engineering firm, went in there, and we delineated where the wetlands are. Well, the wetlands have moved, and they moved in. Well, since that building was built, the whole back parking lot was paved. And Steve, why don't you flip that over? Maybe that's the easiest way to do it. So as you can see on the end there, okay, we've now, that what used to be pavement, we have now turning that into conservation land. Also, where the tractor trailer, you know, we had to show where we're going to park them. I mean, we don't have a tenant yet, but we're just giving the idea. All that pavement's going to be torn out, and that's going to be gravel too. So we're creating permeable surface to go down through it. And we're also going to do, you know, originally they wanted me to put granite posts stating that this is conservation afterwards, and no dumping and everything. But she's agreed to, we have boulders the size of an excavator, just about, you know, a small excavator. So we're going to be putting the boulders along the side, and we'll put the signs on that too. So.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Gould?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Harrison, thank you for staying in Peabody. Glad that things have worked out for you. If you could address a couple of things, please. You spoke to the fact that you plugged in the address going into the park, brought you down 129 to Linfield Street, and the other one brought you 128 to the Centennial exit.
Yeah.
How about, without me having to get lost in the traffic plan and more along Councilor Manning's comments, how are you getting out of the park? Can you summarize what the traffic out?
The same way when you plug in to go, like I
You won't
plugged
be-
in
you-
to go back to Chelsea.
Yeah.
And it took me the same way, out through First Ave onto 129 and around
Okay.
the road.
And there won't be any traffic on Jubilee Drive?
I mean, whether people go to Wendy's or whatever to go
Yeah,
grab
no,
lunch.
I'm
you know, I
talking
can't-
trucks, I'm talking trucks and,
No, Sam has no intention of having any of his trucks,
Okay.
because that's not their route. Their facilities are down in New Jersey, Connecticut, and so they're going to be hauling product up north. When they're coming out of Boston Seaport, they're going to be coming up Route 1 and coming in through that 129.
and retracing, going back out the same way?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. No further questions.
Any other councilors? Councilor Turco.
Mr. President, just last thing that I did not mention, those late communications, majority of the gist of that was from Sharon Cameron, and her concern was the storage of hazardous materials, and also Captain Dowling from the fire department had the same, not really concerns, but just wanted it addressed. So if you have that, Sharon was content with that, but then asked also that you supply her with the emergency contacts to the City of Peabody Health Department and fire departments prior to the occupancy permit, which I'll make a condition. I had one question that I neglected to ask Sam regarding hours of operation. Sam, in the application, it says Sundays till, I want to say 11 p.m., but in your statement, you said you only need till 2 p.m. on Sunday. I'd like to cut that Sunday back a little bit. Do we need...
Well, it's basically just to service one truck, and, you know, it's scheduled depending on traffic and weather. We would like to get out of there as quickly as possible. So we could push that schedule back. I don't, do you have a time? That
Well, if we could do 6 p.m. on Sunday, 7 a.m. to 6, you have 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Sunday. You know,
what was that on Sunday?
you have 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Sunday in your application. Is 6 p.m. viable for you?
That's an error. That's an error.
It's an error.
Yeah.
Okay, so 6 p.m., 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Sunday works?
The hours are 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday, and I think it was 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Sunday.
10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Sunday. Okay, so just so I get this right in the special permit, I'm going to have Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. to 11 p.m., Saturday, 6 a.m. to 3 p.m., Sunday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. as your
Correct.
hours of operation. Okay, and
Correct.
that'll be a condition on the permit, just so you know.
Okay, and I mean, those times on Sunday, it could only be a 2-hour shift. We want to give a window because of the arrival time of the truck. Sometimes it's on time, sometimes it's late.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Move to close the public hearing. Oh,
So moved. You heard the motions? Roll call vote? Oh, here's-
Mr. President, move to approve the application of Siva Logistics, Sam Granito, 88 Black Falcon Avenue, South Boston, Mass., for a special permit to operate a truck terminal at 5A 5th Street, Peabody, Mass., as filed in accordance with Section 4.2.6, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance with the conditions. Condition 1, they supply Sharon Cameron with 24-hour hazardous material contacts. Condition 2, they supply Peabody Fire Department with 24-hour hazardous material contacts. Condition 3, hours of operation on Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. Saturday, 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. Sunday hours would be 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And construction hours Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. So moved.
Heard the motion?
Mr. President, if I may, Councilor Turco, maybe provide a little help on the application, and Sam he commented that it must have been an error. If you look at the business hours of operation, Sunday is actually on the application is 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. on page 4, John. And Saturday at 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's military time. It's 1600, 2300.
Through you to Councilor Gould, Mr. President. Yes, I did notice the military time on the first two. I did not realize that the 7 to 10 a.m., 10 o'clock meant a.m. in this case. But I would still go with the hours requested by Mr. Granito in his statement.
10 a.m. to 2 p.m.?
10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
On
yes.
Sunday?
On Sunday, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? On the motion? Move for a roll call?
Councilors O'Neill,
Yes.
McGinn,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Sasslaw,
Yes.
Mitsoulas,
Yes.
Manning Martin,
Yeah.
Rozignol,
Yes.
Turco,
Yes.
Melville,
Yes.
Charist.
Yes.
Motion carries 10 to nothing, one absent.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and please do stop down when you're in the neighborhood. All right, thank you.
I'd like to move to item 5, reports of committee. I'd like to report out from Mike Gingras, the Director of Finance, to transfer of funds. I'd like to motion to receive.
So moved.
There were 2 motions. Well, actually, there was 1 motion, but are you going to act on this tonight?
I'd like to.
Okay.
I'd like to move the motion to act on transfer of funds, the total of $166,615.43. And that's from the budget reserve to FY18 legal budget. So move. Any comments? Councilor Turco.
Mr. President, through you, to you. Actually, I thought we were going to do this differently. So the $79,000 from the Brophy lawsuit, we are going to move to transfer tonight. The $12,500, which would make the complete total $91,700, we were going to move to finance at the request of Councilor McGinn, if I'm not mistaken. And then we have
No, that wasn't.
the additional, no.
Councilor, if I may interrupt, that was not the discussion of the executive session to move to finance. It was to approve, to move to budget item to budget line.
Okay, so Mr. President, the motion would be to transfer $91,700 from the budgeted reserve account 1001320574110 to the legal budget 1001510531114, correct?
If you'd like to break it in two, we had a total, but you can,
With the total of $91,700.
I don't believe so.
Well,
I believe we
Mr.
talked
President,
about...
I'll let somebody else make that motion then, because this is what I understood was going to be the motion, that we worried about the $91,700, and the remainder was going to go to the Finance Committee. But I'll defer to
Counselor, we
Mr.
have Mike
Gingrich.
Gingras report out, help us.
Councilors, point of clarification, there's outside expert and legal fees of $91,700 and a negotiated settlement fee of $154,115 for a total of $245,815, and that's the request to transfer from budgeted reserve to the legal budget.
Counselor, the 166-61543 is what we discussed in committee. The 79.2 was the discussion we had prior to the executive when we started to talk and realized that we didn't need to talk about. We had it before.
Mr. President, yes, that's exactly what I wanted to transfer right now, is $79,200, but you're telling me that that's not what you want. The discussion was to transfer $79,200 for outside legal experts for the Brophy fireman's case, which we're all aware of, and we thought we should do that in open session right now. As far as the other $166,615, I wasn't aware that we were actually voting on that. So like I said, if somebody else would like to file that motion, that's fine, but I'll vote on the 79 too.
Any other councilors?
Thank you,
Councilor
Mr.
McGinn.
President. Thank you, Mr. President. So there is a motion on the floor for the 166, is that correct? Yes. Let's vote.
There is a motion on the floor. Any
Mr.
other
President.
conversation on?
Mr. President, whose motion was that? Because I made a motion for $91,700, not for 166. Was there a different motion that I made?
Councilor Turco, I brought it out for consideration. Would you like to clarify? Do you have any information?
Well, what's being reported out of committee is the vote that was taken with regards to the legal obligation settlement. It was broken down into two parts. It was the $154,115 plus the $12,500, which totaled $166,615. That was a motion that was made in executive session, and it passed 9-1. So Council Charis is reporting that motion out now to the full council for a vote before the council now. So that's the motion that he's presenting. That came out of committee. The other motion wasn't voted on because that was decided to be done in open session, the 79,000.
Councilor McGinn? No? Like to call roll call?
Okay, roll call. Okay. Councilors O'Neill,
Yes.
McGinn,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Sasla,
Yes.
Mitsoulas, Manning Martin,
No.
Rozignol,
Yes.
Turco,
Yes.
Melville,
Yes.
Charist.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-1. Well, if you want to bring that up now, under suspension of the rules, if you want to. Yeah.
Under suspension of the rules, I'd like to ask for a transfer of $79,200
From the budget reserve
to legal,
FY18.
FY18 legal budget. So move. Councilor Turco.
You said the motion, so.
Any
Motion's on
Any
the floor.
discussion on the motion? Councilor Turco. You sure? Any other councilors? Move for a roll call vote.
Councilors O'Neill,
Yes.
McGinn,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Sasla, Mitsoulas,
Yes.
Manning Martin,
No.
Rozignol,
Yes.
Turco,
Yes.
Melville,
Yes.
Charist.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-1.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, since that executive session is now settled, can we get those executive session minutes out to the public as soon as possible? We just voted on monies, public funds, and we didn't even explain what it was going to.
Yes, I think I would like to ask for a legal opinion on that first to make sure if that would be all right, Councilor Manning? Okay.
We have
Would you?
We have
are you
Mr.
put-
Khan here. We have Mr. Khan here. We can actually ask him that now.
Mr. President?
Councilor McGinn.
Thank you. Through you to Council Manning Martin. I'm not sure Mr. Khan can't give us an opinion on that due to a potential conflict of interest in that second matter, so.
But he would just be advising on whether the executive session matter is closed because we voted to settle it in executive session, and then we voted to pay it in open session. So this is simply a question to our legal counsel, if the executive session minutes can be released so that the public can know what just happened. If the matter is closed, then executive session minutes can be released. That is my understanding, and that's a question I'd like to pose to him. But I will defer to your concerns, Councilor McGinn. I don't see Mr. Khan jumping up to get to the podium, so I will defer to your concerns, and we'll wait for a legal opinion. But I'm not sure who's going to give that legal opinion since there's so many conflicts of interest. Perhaps we'll have to hire out for that too.
Councilor Manning, I personally would request this to be put on the next agenda so we can have an answer for you, if that would satisfy. Thank you. Councilor Turco.
Mr. President, through you and along with to Council Manning's point, and also through you to Council McGinn, what I don't understand is how, because of a legal settlement, this council can be left without legal representation. So because of this, we have no city solicitor that can advise us. We have a city solicitor that we pay a lot of money to sitting in the audience, and we can't ask him a question. We have questions, too, that should be addressed, and it's nothing pertaining to the lawsuit that was settled. It's pertaining to a question that a councilor had, and to tell her or anybody else on this council that we don't have legal representation because somebody else agreed to recuse themselves. That's not my problem. I expect to have legal representation from one of 3 city solicitors that we pay, and not be told that I can't ask a question and get an answer.
Councilor Turco, I think Council Khan is here to answer as many questions as he could possibly do tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have been sitting here in the audience, and once I'm invited up here, I'm happy to answer any questions that I can answer. My understanding is the question is whether executive session minutes relative to a meeting that took place tonight can be released. And the answer is, if the matter is finally concluded and I did not participate in the executive session relative to one of the matters, so I wasn't present. But if the matter is concluded, the minutes are reviewed, and this council votes to release the minutes, they certainly can be released.
May I follow up for
Councilor Manning,
clarification?
absolutely.
Thank you. So if the vote, which you were not there, if the vote was taken to settle it, and a vote was just taken now to transfer the funds to pay it, would you determine that that case is now closed?
If the matter is concluded, if settlement documentation has been executed, and payment is tendered, it would be concluded.
Excellent. So back to my original request, if we could get the minutes out on that executive session, because it's basically concluded, because that's why we rushed everything, so that it would be concluded. So upon payment and finalization, if we could please just get the executive session minutes into public record, that's simply my request. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have
Thank
any
you,
other-
Mr. Khan.
Any other discussion?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Excuse, Councilor Melville.
Can we just have the name of the company we're paying the $79,000? The payment, the $79,000, was it $79,200? What's the name of the company?
It's a large, do you have the bill there, Mr.?
I just like that for the record.
It's RSM.
Yeah, it's a large national company. It's RSM Consulting.
Councilor Sasslaw.
I'll just try and be brief. I do agree with releasing the minutes of the executive session as soon as possible. My only concern that I have through you to Councilor Manning is we made a vote, and the operative words I heard from the Council Khan was that have the documents been executed. So I don't know if they've been executed. The vote was made, but as far as the final documents, kind of the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed on that particular matter. We voted on it, but I don't know if those documents have been executed. So that's my concern.
Yep, if I may. I agree with you 100%. My point is, I don't want those executive session minutes to take a year. That's it. So as soon as the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, checks are paid, please release the minutes as soon as possible. Thank you.
Just to the Councilor Manning, as I said earlier, I will start on it tomorrow to try our very best to get it on the agenda for our next meeting. Any other councilors? Okay. Move to item 6, motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor O'Neill. Nope. It's your turn if you have anything to say. Motion and resolutions?
Nothing.
Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. On suspension of the rules, move to receive item 8D and refer to municipal safety. So moved.
Here to vote? So move. Any opposed? All in favor? It's a vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. And just a comment, I don't know if the clerk has an update on this, but this sound system is a real disappointment given some of the guarantees we were made by the provider. Do we know, are they going to come back and make adjustments here to give us the system that we...
Yes.
So I'm
Yes,
not, I
don't know if
it's not directed at you personally,
I
Tim.
don't know if we're on the right settings right now. It was too late to really check on a counselor, but there are different settings for different modes, so we'll have to work on that. Yep.
Right. I mean, I'll just recall the statement being made by the provider that nobody would ever have to strain again to hear in these council chambers and so forth. And tonight I saw a lot of frustration. And I'm...
What was tested and what is sounding tonight are two different things, so we'll have to find out.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Councilor Sasslaw.
Thank you. I'd like to talk a little bit about a couple of issues that I'd like to see the council tackle this year. And I know it was brought up in discussion during the election season, and those are really two issues. And I think everyone is concerned about them, but I think we need to bring them to the forefront. And what it is I'm sure many of you noticed across the city, there's just a plethora of banners. Banners for donut companies, car companies, oil change companies, and I know on one area, on a stretch of Route 1, I have 8 banners in a matter of probably 15 feet. And I know I've discussed it with other councilors in the past, and I think it's time that we try and take a look at this kind of, you have noise pollution and you just have trash pollution. And these banners, I have no problem with a banner going up for a week, looking nice, but some people keep it up for 6 months, they're tattered, and I just don't think it's the image that we want. So I'm going to refer that matter to the Industrial and Community Development Committee to take a look at banners and signs. And just as a very, very brief history, in 1975, we had a sign review board. When the ordinances were changed, it was abolished in 2011. It's coming with the building. It's under the purview of the building inspector. I don't think the building inspectors necessarily were looking to take it over, but I did have a very brief discussion with the mayor before the meeting tonight. If you remember, we did put a position in the budget this year for for lack of a better word, an inspector, part-time inspector. So I think this is something that could come under their purview, but I'll be looking for any input from fellow councilors to try and, as I said, I don't want to limit advertising, but it's just gotten a little bit out of hand, and and you have the A-frames and things like that, and you might want to just familiarize yourself with some of the sign code that we have, but I do think it's something that we need to do. Also piggybacking on that a little bit is used car lots. And when it comes to used car lots, I think we give out these used car lot licenses with a defined number, and we do it with the best of integrity. But unfortunately, we're handcuffing the police and the enforcement. And what I mean by that is very simple. A lot of the used car lots have repair businesses. And so when the police officer goes into the business, he has no idea whether it's a repair, a dealer plate, a used car lot. So I'm gonna make a motion that the city clerk reach out and get the ordinance from the surrounding communities, Malden, Everett, Revere, Beverly, and Salem. I know to see what their ordinances are. I know they do have them on the books. I've looked at them briefly from a couple of the communities, and I think that can help give us a guide. I'd like to personally, at the end of the day, see if a used car lot has a license for 12 cars. I'd like to see them be numbered, lined, and indicated where those 12 cars are. Because right now, as I sit here today, it's just not happening. And I know that there's abuse in that. We're not being fair to the police force if they're going to ask them to go out and enforce it, and there's no way for them to tell what's going on. So those are two things that I think will be for the betterment of the city. So I'll make that motion on the clerk to get the regulations from the other cities regarding used car lots, and some of that is signage too, by the way.
Heard the motion. Any opposed? Approval? Let's vote.
That is all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilor Gould.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. I apologize for coming back to me. Tim, if we could set up at your convenience a industrial community development subcommittee meeting. I think there's a couple issues in there that we need to address. Please, thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Councilor Masulis.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have two motions. One is to request the Public Works to replace the stop sign on Nickerson Road. So move.
You heard the motion. Any opposed? Approve? It's a vote.
And the other one, Mr. Chairman, is to request a handicap parking spot at 40 Tremont Street. So move.
Heard the vote. Any opposed? Approve? It's a vote.
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman, this was a very frustrating evening. I heard Councilor McGinn. I know he was talking about the audio, but I couldn't hear what he was saying. And I just wanted to express the frustration that Councilor Sasslaw and I were going through this evening. I couldn't barely make out what you people were saying. You know, we just spent a lot of money getting this thing here. I mean, my motion is to get the audio, get the people that install this back here and straighten out this audio problem, because I don't really want to go through another council meeting like this. I will not sit through another council meeting like this. I couldn't hear a thing, you know? And I think Joe was going through the same thing. I know most you councilors mentioned it, so if I repeated anything Peter said, I apologize, Pete, but I couldn't hear you. Okay. So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor, is that in the form of a motion?
That's a motion, yes, it is, yeah.
Any opposed? Approve? It's a vote. Councilor Manny Martin.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a good thing Councilor Gravel is out of the country. He'd lose his mind if he heard this sound system. I just have one motion, maybe not a motion, but a request. With the water treatment plant, when we had a public services meeting several months ago, I think we were waiting on waivers. I think there were 3 waivers, and who reminded me of it was Representative Walsh. I saw him last week, and he asked me to follow up on that. So if we could reach out to Public Services, the status of those waivers that we need for the progress of the water treatment plant, a request for the waivers. Thank you. Or the status of where the waivers are. Thank you very much.
You heard the motion. Any opposed? Support? It's a vote. Councilor Rosano.
No motions.
Councilor Turco.
Mr. President, move to receive, under suspension of the rules, item 8C and set up a public hearing.
Any support? Any opposed? Approval? It's a vote.
Mr. President, and through you to Tim. Tim, could you set up, I believe I'm chairman of Public Services now, if I read that correctly. This is a great day in my life. If you could set up a Public Services Committee in reference to Councilor Manning's motion, and also I'm about to refer something else, but I will get to that. For those of you that don't know, recycling has been a major issue. It's been a social media issue that has come up and been at the forefront. JRM made a slight change to what they accept in recycling. That slight change being plastic bags. I think each ward councilor was contacted by Peter Gamache, the general manager for JRM today, to better clarify that. Maybe the at-large councilors were not, so I just wanted you to be aware. Peter said nothing has changed regarding what they accept for recycling. I think some residents place their recyclables in a plastic bag in order to prevent it from blowing all over the place and do the right thing. And those plastic bags then get caught in the conveyors at JRM at the recycling plant, which then slows the process and sometimes causes damage to the machines, which is why JRM asked that we not accept those plastic bags or any further. Now, for those of you that were on the council last year, you'll remember that I filed 2 motions to the Public Services Committee. Where they went, I have no idea. One over 6 months ago, one about a month ago. And those were in regards to recycling containers, which I knew was an issue because I've been here for 17 years and my container is about, the size of a basket that I could fit 4 items in with no cover, and then they blow all over the street. we need to upgrade the containers. Through my conversation with Peter Gamache today, he said he had ordered 2,000 containers, I don't think for Peabody, but 2,000 recyclable containers with covers larger than what we have, and they were $7.50 each. I don't know how the city wants to go about doing that, but the containers we have aren't satisfactory. If we're telling residents not to put their recyclables in a plastic bag, let's provide the container to them that they can cover and prevent it from blowing all over the streets, because for those of us that have done the community cleanups, we know that 90% of what we pick up is the plastic bottles and the recyclables that we've asked people to put in the bins and then blew up and down Linfield Street, Lynn Street, Russell Street, and everywhere else in Peabody. So again, for the third time, I'll make the motion to refer the purchase of larger covered recycle bins to the Public Service Committee, which happily I am now the chairman of and have asked to schedule. I will have an additional motion, since hopefully Dave Terranzoni will be at that meeting in regards to Councilor Manning's motion. Could I make a motion to have Dave get a cost estimate of purchasing larger covered recycling bins, and what the city policy is, if those are to be purchased by residents or supplied by the city of Peabody, or how he would roll that program out. So if you could make sure Dave gets an invite to that meeting, I would appreciate it.
Councilor Sassel on the...
Thank you, Council President, through you to Council Turco. I did have a discussion with Peter Gamache today also. The one thing he did say is right away, he did say, you can take a barrel with a cover, grab a sticker, and that's considered good enough to take the recyclable. So in the meantime, if people want to try and alleviate the problem, you can just buy a barrel that has a secure cover on it, grab a sticker down here at City Hall, call up JRM, they do have them, so they know that that barrel is for recyclable items, because at least we can alleviate the problem. Then we can figure out if we're going to have a special barrel. But in the meantime, at least we can try and help stuff from blowing all over the place. Thank you.
Councilor McGinn?
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Councilor Turco. I wondered if you would consider expanding your motion to, not limit it to recycling, because we have a lot of overflowing trash containers around the city as well, and it's precisely the same issue with that becoming litter as it gets tossed around. So I know that's probably the easiest thing to do is the recycling portion, but I'd like to hear what DPS and JRM might have to say about doing the same with trash. A lot of other communities have gone in that direction, where both trash and recycling go out in standard containers.
Councilor Manny Martin?
I'd be glad to add that to the motion if I could. So,
And thank you. If I could request to Councilor Turco, I believe that the contract was recently renewed. I think it was for an additional $250,000. I think I read it in the paper a while ago, but we have not seen the contract. So if you could request the current contract, and we could review it and see exactly what we are owed, what we are getting, and make sure that we're getting what we're owed. Thank you.
Councilor Turco?
So moved.
Just on the motion, on the other councilors too, I've been using a large barrel with a cover with the stickers on it for the past several years, and it's been working out pretty good, just so point information on that. And another thing that I do with the large soda bottles and water bottles, I actually crunch them up, squish them down real tight, turn the cover on, the cap on real tight, and it reduces the space in the barrel. So just as a little tip to everybody. Thank you. On the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
Mr. President, I have another motion. At Bartholomew Street, at Bartholomew Pond, there's a guardrail that protects traffic from the pond. There's a portion of that guardrail that's been broken for quite some time, so if I could have Public Services repair this section of the guardrail that is missing at Bartholomew Street and Bartholomew Pond. Thank you.
You heard the motion? All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
That's all, Mr. President. Thank you.
Councilor Melville.
I have no motions, but I just want to echo what Councilor Turco and the rest of the council had talked about with regard to the recycling. It's the only thing I got my first call on. No snow calls, but recycling. And I found that Jerem, Peter Gamache, and the mayor's office was responsible. I would also point people to the website. City website has a rubric on there on what is acceptable and what is the current operation. But other than that, I have no motions. Thank you.
Councilor Melville, that's because your ward council got all the calls. I have no motions.
Mr. President, if I can help you with 8.
Please.
8A, move to receive and, I was going to go to the municipal safety. We'll go to the ad hoc committee on taxis. So moved?
You want to take them all?
Yeah.
Please.
8B, motion to receive motions from Mr. Terenzoni. So moved.
You heard the motions. All in favor, all vote. Support.
8C, we already did. 8D, we did 8D. 9A, Class 2 motor vehicle license renewals.
Take them all.
All papers being in order. Ad Pro Motorsports, Inc., 15 Spring Street. Auto Graphics and Sales, 220B Newbury Street. CNC Auto, 180 Newbury Street. D&D Auto Sales, 36 Walnut Street. Elite Motor Cars, 93 Lynn Street. King Motors, Inc., 1R Rear Newbury Street, Suite 101. Legacy Auto Sales, Inc., 92 Foster Street. Mike's Auto Sales, 100 Bernie Street. North Shore Automotive, 100 Bernie Street, Unit 7. Oasis Auto and Truck Center, 7.5 Mason Street. Palmetto Motorsports, 98 Foster Street. The Pioneer Garage, 77 Walnut Street. Tri-City Services, Inc., 55 Rear Walnut Street. Again, approve all papers being in order. 9B, Class 3 motor vehicle license renewal for 2018. Approve all papers being in order. Garusi Brothers Auto and Truck Sales and Salvage LLC, doing business as Lion Auto Parts, 0 Kerwin Street. 9C, entertainment licenses renewals for 2018. Approval, all papers being in order. Brody's Pub, 10.5 Lowell Street. Burton's Grill of Peabody, 210 Andover Street. Club Luis de Cameos, 10 Collins Street. D&R Roadhouse Pub, 55 Pulaski Street. Jade's Restaurant LLC, 4 Bourbon Street. Legal Seafoods, 210 Andover Street. Oliveira's Steakhouse, 7274 Walnut Street. If I may, Tim, wasn't that entertainment license up for the Oliveira's Steakhouse? Wasn't that in question and it got recessed?
It was.
No, they withdrew their amendment to expand the live.
Okay, so
This
it's
is their
back to what
renewal.
we gave them?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Again, Oliveira's Steakhouse, 7274 Walnut Street. Patty Kelly's, 154 Washington Street. Polano Restaurant, LLC, 9 Rear Sylvan Street. Portuguese American War Vets, Post 1, 103 Tremont Street. Wadhurst Restaurant, 31 Linfield Street. Again, approval, all papers being in order. 9D, general licenses renewals for 2018. Limousine license, all papers being in order. Approval, all papers being in order. Michael's Limousine Company, Inc., 161 Lynn Street. Roadhouse Limousine, 55 Pulaski Street. Tri-City Services, Inc., 55 Rear Walnut Street. Taxi cab license, Tri-City Services, Inc., 55 Rear Walnut Street. Approval, all papers being in order. 9E, taxi cab license transfer. Sunshine Car Services, LLC, 153 Newbury Street. Approval, all papers being in order, Tim. 9F, limousine license transfer, Michael's Limousine Company, Inc., 161 Lynn Street, licenses 206, 207, 208. 9G, limousine taxi driver's license, approval, all papers being in order. Leanne Ward, license 48. Robert Smith, license 49. Entertainment license amendment, Family Entertainment Group LLC, doing business as Bonkers, 535 Lowell Street. Set up a public hearing. So moved.
All in favor?
Motion to adjourn.
Any opposed? Before you adjourn, thank you. Councilors, as you saw tonight, we had Lola Bussa here leading us in Pledge of Allegiance. I reach out to each and one of you. We like to do this each and every meeting. If there is somebody you think will be, should be doing this also, please reach out to me and we can schedule that. Thank you very much. John.